Mr. Andres Khan, the CEO of Terra Systems Switzerland. Good morning. Could you please tell us about your sub-product Terra 3000? We have learned that it is an Austrian patented solution for road and infrastructure construction. But what is Terra 3000 exactly? What does it do? And why is it so different than other soil stabilization solutions out there?
Sure, with pleasure. Firstly, thank you for having me here. Terra 3000 is a flagship product of the Terra system methodology that was invented by a gentleman from Austria called Richard Bach. He's probably the gentleman for whom I have the most respect in this world. His answer is basically for sustainable road development and sustainable land development. And what this product does, in essence, is that it actually tackles the problems that you have with road development or with land development, which unfortunately not many people have invested in. Most people, when they construct their roads or when they do land development, they spend a lot of money on the top part of the soil. So whether it's the asphalt, whether it's the bitumen, the wearing course, etc. But they, ignore what is below that, what is really in the earth, which is the soil. And in essence, when the water is seeping in, when it is too hot, you have swelling, rutting effects, or in the colder zones, you have frost, which creates a lot of problem. All these problems come in essence due to water. So if it is raining very much, the water will seep in into the subbase, as it's technically known. And due to the water coming in there, it creates this rutting effect. And from bottom up, that's how you have potholes in essence. A pothole in essence is a failure of the subbase. So, or in warm areas like in the Middle East, for example, you have this humidity problem. Humidity is directly related to moisture, which is directly related to water as well. Right. So, what one has to think about is how can I solve the problem at the root cause, which is in essence the water, right? Now, if you look at the soil structure from a soil mechanics point of view, you have something known as the particle size of soil, the various particle size. And the most finite and problematic parts is the clay, which is 0.002 mm or 2 microns particle size. Now, at that level, which is the nano level within the soil, you have these positively and negatively charged ions which are constantly opposing each other. These are due to the laws of electrophysics. So no matter what you do, due to these opposing factors of the negatively and positively charged ions, there's always a little bit space left between the ions at a nano level. And that's how the water seeps in. That's how the moisture seeps in. That's how frost eventually breaks through as well. So what the Terra 3000 product does, it takes those positively and the negatively charged ions and it neutralizes them. So when you then apply the compaction, there is no possibility for air or any water to seep in anymore. And that's what makes it such a unique product. So basically, it is giving you a load-bearing factor, a comprehensive strength of at least 3 times the size of conventional concrete. So concrete has a PSI of 3,500, which is public knowledge, available everywhere. If you use the Terra 3000 product and Terra system methodology with the right machinery, you can easily get more than 10,500 PSI. Recently in the Philippines, we did a project where we had 14,000 PSI. So that's massive. The other thing which is very unique about this product is the fact that it is an irreversible effect. You see, once you neutralize ions, you cannot just expect the ions to get positively and negatively charged on their own. It doesn't happen. Water has no impact, heat has no impact, moisture has no impact. It's an irreversible effect. Now, because it's a catalyst that you are applying to the soil, Terra 3000 is in essence a catalyst, it cannot be washed away. It doesn't have any environmental damage to the neighboring fields in case there are fields beside. And it is also something which is not dependent on aggregates. So we don't use cement, we don't use gravel. It's a catalyst. We take the existing soil and we upgrade the properties of that soil. Having said that, we cannot work in any soil where there is 0% clay. So if there's 0% clay, we need to bring in some clay and get that clay to approximately 20% in order for us to utilize this methodology. I think the last thing which is pretty unique about this methodology is the fact that because we are working in situ, which means with the soil already existing there, We don't have any earthworks, we don't have any excavations. So think about the amount of time that you save. You don't have to start with excavating a meter, meter and a half deep to get your stuff out, transport it away with trucks to some lead site, bring back again all the sub-base layers that you want to put there. We skip all of that. We have a machine that scarifies the ground, loosens the soil, crushes any rocks that it may find, and sprays the product in all in one step. And due to this efficiency, we can do up to 8,000 square meters a day. And the most important thing is that 8,000 square meters a day, which after you're applying the compaction so they move in a convoy, you can open that up to traffic. There's no public nuisance because Terra 3000 has no curing period. As we know, with the conventional ways with cement, etc., once you've processed that sub-paste or stabilized it, you have to water it for 2 weeks. In the Middle East, probably even much more because of the extreme heat temperatures over there. We bypass all of that. There is no curing period. Once you have that processed in the soil and you have your compaction, you can open it up for traffic, which means the public nuisance due to roadworks is also minimized. So really the speed of the duration with which we do it, the fact that we don't need aggregates, this is what makes it interesting. Now, if you ask yourself a question, for all the distinguished engineers out there listening to this, for all the distinguished people in the road industry, ask yourself a question. On an average, how much square meters of road do you do in a day? Taking the whole process into consideration, starting from the earthwork until where you put in the wearing course. On an average, what we've been hearing in the last 15 years, irrespective if it's South America, irrespective if it's Asia, Southeast Asia, even Australia for that matter, it's always between 300 to 400. Sometimes people say, oh, we do much more. And then, the devil's always in the details. If you go into detail, you see that, no, it's not really true. They didn't take the earthwork into consideration, for example. But imagine you have 300 to 350 square meters a day of road that you're doing, and we do 8,000. I mean, that's a huge difference in terms of efficiency. So if you're a contractor, this is interesting for you because you get paid on progressive billing, which means the more work you do, the more you get paid, right? So here you get paid much faster. You could, in essence, do more projects than you could otherwise because you only have a finite number of days you can work in. So the other thing I do have to mention is if it rains, then we can't work either, right? Because when it rains, nobody can work. So, I mean, if it rains heavy, if it's a slight drizzle, it's not an issue for us. But if it rains heavy, then we got to stop work. So the 8,000 square meters I mentioned before was only for a day where it's not raining. So I hope that this answers your question. We do have several references on the productivity we've achieved on our website, www.terra-3000.com. We've been doing projects since over 30 years. We've just entered into the US markets on a very interesting application. This will be for tackling all the potholes that they have there. That's another application of Terra 3000. So you don't use it just for the roads or the highways. You can even use it for potholes. You can actually even use it for sealing off toxic waste dumps. Think about that. If you have radioactive materials you need to submerge into the earth and you want to ensure that nothing leaks out, you don't have any humanitarian disaster, you need to have a solution that ensures that whatever you're putting in there gets sealed up. You can use Terra 3000 for that. You can even use Terra 3000 for flood control solutions. So if you want to have dams, if you want to have dikes, like in Holland, you can use Terra 3000 for that. You can even use Terra 3000 for railroad embankments. So when you have your rail tracks, below the rail tracks, you typically have these stones, what they call the ballast. That ballast is lying over soil. Now, if you don't treat that soil, you don't stabilize that soil, you don't make that a solid foundation, over time, due to the weight of the trains on the top, the cargo, it kind of sinks into the ballast. It doesn't take the tensile strains anymore. And then you have these waves on the tracks. Sometimes you even have cracks on the tracks, especially in the Middle East due to high temperatures. That's an issue because you will have your tracks expanding. It's the natural properties of metal, right? So when that expanding and contracting is taking place, you better make sure that what's below those tracks is a solid foundation so that you don't have damages to it. Again, sustainable development. And that is where we excel. You're more than welcome to contact us or to contact Lubna if you're from the GCC. We have an extensive network globally at the moment. to give you more information and to help you understand how we can adhere to your problems in your specific part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I hope to meet with you again in another interview very soon.